So, welcome to another webinar. Today we'll talk about how we can finish your next 100 miler strong and not destroyed. Thank you very much everyone who introduced themselves, Adam, Jeff, giving a bit more context. The outline for today is the difference between 100K and 100 miler. Study the race, why it's important to study not just the distance, and not just the vert, but the different elements. Then your strengths and weaknesses, durability, which I think is very not talked about a lot, and real examples will overtraining. And then we'll have Q&A. In the meantime, you can always ask a question, but I won't see it. But yeah, if you have any questions, if something pops up, just write it in the comment box and I'll respond later. A lot of times people think that the difference between 100K and 100 miler is the 60K difference, or the distance between the distance, which is not. I think it sounds, yeah, just another marathon plus another 60K, but the difference is not if you can do 100K, can you do 100 miler? And here's an example. I was speaking with a guy, I actually met him last year, and he DNF'd his 100 miler, and he told me the biggest lesson he learned that there's a huge difference between 100K and 100 miler. And my intention for today is to share everything that I know, the foundations, so you can take that on board and implement in your training and use critical thinking always. And yeah, make your, 1 second, I have to, people who join a bit late, I have to accept them. Okay. So yeah, hopefully you live with more insights and knowledge, and the key is not more miles. That's number one. I always start backwards, so I look at the race. So let's say Adam has dark in January, Jeff has I forgot here the ultra that he has in October, and you just go backwards. And then I say, okay, what is the number one reason why people DNF? What is the number one injury? And the most injuries that happen there are basically bone related, muscle damage, basically they're loading tendons. There are more load on tendons. So basically the heart says, yeah, I want to go far. I want to go and do more miles. But the tendons are like, they're quiet in the beginning. It's like, yeah, it's okay. And then at some point they just give up because the load is higher than what the muscles, the tendons can hold. And that's the biggest thing. Like if we all focus on more, not just muscular durability, not just strength training, but like focusing on our tendons. I know it's like, it's not sexy like VO2 max and, doing threshold runs and all the stuff that a lot of times we see on social and from influencers mostly. But this is what will help you finish strong. Just a brief, how you can think of tendons is like, why it happens is because if you run, let's say, I don't know, 50K a week, and then you start running 80K a week, you're adding more volume to your tendons, and that's why it happens. So you don't give your bones, your tendons, the ability to adapt. But that doesn't. It's not only distance related. It's vert as well. So for example, if you're doing 1,000 meters of vert every week, or for example myself, I live in London right now, and as you know, it's a flat city. I mean, the only hills I have close to my home is Primrose Hill. So it's like, well, and then when I go on a weekend and I'm doing 2,500 meters of vert, well, my tendons will be like, what? This is not. I'm not used to that. Obviously, I'm adapted now, and I'm going to a box hill, and I'm doing. But someone who doesn't do a lot of vert, and then they go out and do a lot of vert, they're going to get injured. That's obviously tendon overload. Ideally, you want to train below your capacity, and then slowly every week just increase, like vert or and intensity as well. So if you start doing a lot of intensity work, again, a lot of stress. Something that happens a lot of times, people get injured and they think, okay, I need to stop running completely. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't. It depends. There are nuances. But a lot of times when you feel pain, it doesn't mean that the tendons, they want to rest, they want the holiday. What it means, basically, the tendons, they are, let's say you feel pain, you don't need to stop immediately and go from, I don't know, 100K to 0K running. You can decrease your load by a lot, but still go for a run walk, still kind of be running a bit. But now again, it depends on how much pain, and it depends what kind of injury. So you don't, if it's mild pain, you don't want to stop completely, because then the tendons will get weaker. The reason why is because you're running, let's say 100K a week, and then at some point you stop zero. So the tendons are going to get softer without, they want you to, so they want to have a bit of stress. So yeah, in terms of running, I've learned a lot of lessons which were very expensive after years of running as an athlete and as a coach. And the biggest problem I find in running, and from my own experience and from the athletes I coach now, is durability. A lot of people, they train for fitness and they focus on fitness, myself included. I was always looking on, oh, my graph is going up, like Strava or Training Peaks or whatever platforms like. But there are many times where I finished a race, I'm like, shit, I'm destroyed. Why? I trained so hard. And the problem was that I trained so hard. I was overtraining, or I was just focusing on one element. And funny enough, I always had coaches, and I don't know, I didn't listen to them, or I did more. But overall, I think the biggest fix for us to finish races strong is having structure, not just I'm going to do more runs, not just progressive overload, but having structure and knowing, okay, I'm going to focus on A race, have one race or two A races, and then have C races, and then build my durability. One of my worst races that I really hated was Transgran Canaria 2 or 3 years ago. I nearly DNF'd. I never really DNF'd the race. I just kept going. That's because just lucky, I guess, and I have the way I'm built. I'm just lucky, and I keep on going. But it was a nightmare. Like I hated every part of the race, and that's because I was so unfit for that race that all the hills were a nightmare. And at that moment, I realized, actually, I don't want to ever do that race again, and I don't want to ever suffer in a race. And that's where the suffer mentality from different people online, famous people, yeah, you have to suffer. And as I became a coach, I understood that I don't have to suffer to finish a race, because after that, funny enough, I started understanding more how to train properly. And obviously, I become a coach and a PT as well. I just know I want to enjoy races. I don't want to be suffering. As most probably you saw, I'm a qualified PT, a qualified US running coach, and English athletic coach. The reason why I mentioned this is because I noticed a lot of people online, they give advice, and I'm like, and some people that I know personally, it's like they're giving advice and the advice is completely wrong. And someone recently just commented under one of my posts telling me something about downhill running, and it was completely wrong. And I was like, what's wrong with you? Are you a coach? Are you? It's like, and I realized there are a lot of advice online that is just so wrong. So I always say use critical thinking, even to my athletes. It doesn't matter what I do mistakes, obviously. I'm a human, but it's always use critical thinking. Does it make sense? Okay, the difference between 100 milers is the following. Here's one 100 miler in the States. I'm training Ken. So Ken is a 57-year-old. He's training for Wolverine 100-miler course. As you can see, look at the graph. So he has one big climb in the beginning, and then obviously downhill, and then he's going to be running really. He's not going to be really climbing, going up and down. Another race, MUT miler. I'm training Dan for this race in South Africa for next year. Look at the difference. Obviously, there is elevation. There's 8,000 meters of vert, but they don't have. He doesn't have a huge spike in the beginning. Another 100-miler, UTV 100-miler. I've trained a couple of athletes for them, and I've done a lot of webinars in the past years with UTV. Look at the climbs. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 big climbs that you're going to climb, plus the terrain at UTV is very rocky. So it means that you'll need to work on different elements versus this race. This race is not very rocky, from what I saw. Then you have Valderrama, 100-miler. So Valderrama, I'm actually here now in the Pyrenees. I trained for Valderrama. I'm running it on Friday. So again, 10,000 meters of vert, but it's a runnable course. And the reason why it's important to study every single case, for example, this is another race, it's 100K, it's someone I'm coaching, and you can see this athlete, Vera and Niveda, actually, it's two athletes, they're not going to run a lot. They're going to go up, they're going to go down, they're going to go up, and they're going to go down. It's all climbs. It's 9 major climbs, which means their training will be different. Before you start training, I highly recommend you do a periodization plan. So this is an example for Ken. So here's his periodization plan, the race in October, and then you work backwards. So what do you want to work on? For example, obviously you start October, Tupper, peak week 1. Now, this doesn't mean it doesn't change. Obviously, every single training program is designed in pencil. It's never designed in pen. You want to have a year, or for example, January, let's say, for Adam, you have 6 months to train. In this 6 months, you break down your training cycle into 4 weeks. 3 weeks you're building, and then 1 week deload. Now, things happen, and you have to see where your strengths and weaknesses are. For example, Dan's periodization plan for the next 12 months is different than Ken, because Dan has different strengths and different weaknesses. But this is designed initially, so you have a better understanding what you need to train for. And knowing your strengths and weaknesses, your training will be so much better, because you'll be like, oh, okay, I need to train, I don't know, more aerobic durability or muscular durability because my weakness is XYZ. And that's why it's important to first do an assessment. So not just an assessment, a running form assessment, but you do an MOT like we do for cars. You do an MOT of your mobility, your running form, and your lifestyle. And by lifestyle, I mean nutrition. How many hours do you sleep? Do you recover fast enough? So, for example, Dan, he was getting tired running after a couple of short runs. So his recovery was really slow. So if your recovery is slow, you need to see why is that. Yes, Nigel?
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. Sorry. Nothing. No, go on.
Okay. In the end, you'll have Q&A. So
It was my dog. Sorry.
it's all right. So yeah, running form is important as well, because rather than focusing so much on distance and miles, you can improve your running economy by looking at your running form. It's like, oh, okay, I can improve my hand position, or I can improve my whatever mobility as well. It's so important. It's not just running, but mobility. Can you do a full range of motion? What is your ankle dorsiflexion? Then, just by improving your mobility, you'll be able to improve your running economy without running more miles. And that's why I say it's not about doing more miles. By improving certain things like mobility, running form, and lifestyle, it will improve their strength. Okay, strength is not just how much you can deadlift. This is not a deadlift. This is the bench press. How much you can bench press or deadlift. It's how obviously we spoke about tendons in the beginning, but how is your strength overall? Not for running only, but like how much can you lift? Can you deadlift your body weight? Can you bench press your body weight? Then your body composition. Your body composition is huge. A lot of times I see runners like you can lose a lot of times runners focus on how many grams of I don't know gear they have versus looking at their body fat. So by losing 5 kg, they're going to save so much time and improve. And durability, not just muscular durability, but this is, for example, Snowdonia, I was training a couple of months ago. It's like, if you're going to train in winter like the Arc, it's going to be muddy. You're going to be going around. You're not going to be running straight non-stop. So can you run on that terrain? Can you train on that terrain? If you're doing UTS, for example, Snowdonia, it's like, can you run in these conditions? Or for like my weakness is when it's too hot, it's like, obviously I live in the UK, I don't see the sun a lot. I don't train in hot conditions. And now Val d'Aran is going to be hot. Obviously, we all had a heat wave in the past week in Europe. But it's like, I know you have to know your strengths and weaknesses. And being here, obviously, running in the heat wave helped me a bit to adjust. And I've been here for a month, for three weeks now. But it's focusing on what is your strength, what are your weaknesses, and then training towards that. Body composition, really important to focus on. Okay, how much body fat do you have? And then do you need to lose first body fat and then train for your 100-miler? What do you prefer? A lot of times I see runners, they say, oh, I want to do this race, I want to do that race, or I hated this race. And I see a lot with UTS, people complain about and suffer about that they suffered this and that. In my opinion, is like, you know what? I don't really like running in bogs. I like runnable terrain. I've done it once and I don't want to go back. just because I know that I don't like that terrain. It's choosing races that you enjoy running. For example, the Arc as well. I know this, it's not very runnable, so I wouldn't do it just because I just don't like it. Why would I waste my time, energy, and to train for that when I don't enjoy it? The same with UTS. UTS, for those who don't know, it's a race in Wales, Snowdonia, and it just has a lot of bogs. Basically, it's very hilly, it's very technical. You don't really run a lot. You scramble a lot, and I genuinely hate it. What I like is Val d'Aran, for example. You can run. There are hills, there are downhills. But yeah, it's basically having self-awareness and understanding what do you like, what you don't like, and choosing races on that, because that will reflect your training. LT1 and LT2, really important. A lot of times people, especially when you're training for an 100-miler, people are focused, men especially, they run too hard versus running slow, because I think running slow means that you're not gaining a lot of fitness. It means you don't feel fit. And when you run a bit fast, like, oh, should I have an hour? I'm just gonna go around Hyde Park or whatever, Regent Park, and do yeah, and do a 10K lap. And we feel that because we are running faster, we're gaining more fitness, which is counterintuitive. What we need to do is run slower, and that comes to this comes to nuances. You need to know where is your LT1 and LT2. So find LT1 and LT2. I have a free guide. You can download it, and I wrote exactly the tests on how you can find it. It's easy. You basically do two tests, and then you'll know where is your LT1. And once you know when is your LT1, which is upper zone 2, you'll know, okay, I need to run slower than that. And most of the times, 99% of the times, people run especially us guys, we run faster than we should. Okay, LT2, obviously threshold. And once you have those two numbers and you do a retest every 6 weeks, every 8 weeks, you know if your fitness is improving. Because if you are running constantly 10K blocks and then you do a long run, 30K run on the weekend, you don't know if your fitness is improving. If you're living on trails, these tests they need to be done on flat terrain, obviously, or treadmill. Just if you don't have the guide, get the guide. It's free. In the end, I'll share a link. And just do the test. Your training will improve so much better knowing your LT1, your LT2. Ideally, I would actually suggest doing a lab test, not for VO2 max, but to know your LT1 and LT2. If you go into a lab test, just tell them that your focus is LT1, LT2, not VO2 max, because most labs that are focused on VO2 max. Your focus is to find your exact point in LT1 and LT2. So highly recommend, if you have the budget, if you want, it will help. Rather than focusing on VO2 max. Aerobic deficiency. Someone I'm coaching had aerobic deficiency. The reason why and how you can know if you have aerobic deficiency is if you're running and you run out of breath, and when you're running slow or you're running 10, 15K. What you want to do, basically, if you can do a test. If your AAT, LT1 and LT2 has a higher than 10% range, you have aerobic deficiency. If it's less, then you don't have. So you should, to build that, to improve that, you should focus on zone 1, zone 2 training before adding intensity. Because what happens if you add intensity and you have aerobic deficiency, it's not going to help you. You're just going to break the engine faster. So if you know the number, if you know that you don't have aerobic, it was called aerobic deficiency syndrome, and now it's aerobic deficiency. If you know that you don't have it and that your percentage is less than 10%, good, you can add intensity. And by adding intensity, I don't mean you do intense workout intervals, let's say on Tuesday, and then you do a long run on Thursday. Always when you do a periodization plan, you have to focus. You're either building distance, volume, time on feet, or you're building intensity. You can't add both. If you add both, that's where injury happens. So it's either intensity block or it's volume. Now, having said that, during your long runs, during your, let's say, volume, if you're building aerobic capacity, for example, you can add a bit of intensity, like strides, for example. You have to add, like, think of it as a sprinkle, not like your core sessions are highly very intense. Like if you do strides, that's, let's say, a minute times 5. That's 5 minutes of intensity work in an hour. So yeah. So you want to, obviously the goal is to push LT1 toward LT2. So aerobic, by the way, LT1 and LT2 is the same. Some people call it aerobic threshold, lactate threshold, but they're all the same thing basically. It's LT1 and LT2. So aerobic threshold and lactate threshold. So you want to push your LT1 towards closer to LT2. You'll run faster and you'll burn more fat. Because that's what we all want, and you will run for hours. Now, this is not medical diagnosis, obviously. This is just a term, So yeah, it's not, you shouldn't be going to the hospital. Aerobic endurance, muscular endurance, aerobic durability, and muscular durability. 4 important elements in finishing your 100-miler. I'll go one by one. Aerobic endurance. Your engine capacity when you're fresh. So when you're at the start line, you're like, yeah, I'm fresh. I can go. Your heart and lungs can run at a certain pace. That's aerobic endurance. So when you're doing a periodization plan, you always go back and say, what do I need to work on? Do I need to work on aerobic endurance, muscular endurance, aerobic durability, muscular durability? And then you put, okay, this block, the following 3 weeks, I'm doing aerobic endurance, then muscular endurance, then aerobic durability, then muscular durability. So muscular endurance, muscular strength is, it's self-explanatory. It's how much you can lift. And then muscular endurance is your ability to your legs to keep running on your 100-miler without giving up. So how long your legs can keep running before they get tired. Muscular endurance. Aerobic durability. So aerobic durability is how well your engine keeps performing late in the 100-miler. So instead of, oh shit, I feel destroyed after 80K, 90K, because really a race, 100-miler starts after 80K. The first 80Ks, you have to think of the first 80K as a warm-up. And after 80K, that's when the race really starts. And how I think about it, in the beginning, the first 80K, I'm going to go slow. I'm going to let runners pass me because I know later a lot of runners are going to collapse because, not collapse, but yeah, they're going to be dragging their feet because they didn't work on muscular durability. So it's always, okay, how can I create a pace strategy? And that's where pacing comes in, and just go slower. And then 80K, you start actually racing. So aerobic durability, the muscular durability is how well your legs hold up in a race instead of breaking under hours of running downhills and uphills. When you have races that are like they have 10,000 meters of vert, you really need to think of downhills, train for downhills. A lot of times people don't train for downhills, they train for uphills. And it's understandable. Obviously, we want to train uphills, but downhills, there's so much damage happening when we're going downhill to our quads, and people say it's free speed. It's actually not free speed if your form is wrong, if you're just landing, if you're overstriding too much. So yeah, endurance is what you get when you're fresh. Durability is how much of it you can keep when you're not. And durability is harder to measure because you don't see on the graphs on Garmin, on Coros, on whatever fitness app you use, your durability go up. It's always fitness that goes up. And that's why durability is like, well, I don't know, am I improving? The way you can see if you're improving, the way I see how I'm improving, if I, let's say, I had a pyramid week 3 weeks ago. So basically a long run on Tuesday, 5 hours, then long run 4 hours on Wednesday, and then long run on Thursday, 3 hours, and then another. If I feel great on day 3, day 4, it means my muscular durability improved. If I feel exhausted and tired, it means I need to work more on muscular durability. And that's how or even without doing a pyramid trail camp by yourself, if I'm going, let's say, I don't know, up to Snowdon, and I'm doing, let's say, 2 days there. And if day 2, I feel strong when I finish and I like, you know what, I can go for another hour. It means that I've improved my muscular durability. And obviously you have hills close to your houses, or if you don't, you like, I don't know, wherever you go. If you feel stronger, it's like, cool, I'm improving. If you feel you're exhausted, it means you need to work more on muscular durability. The reason why a lot of runners, they have their LT1 pace low is because their aerobic capacity is low. The reason why they're going slow is like, well, you need to work on the foundation, and the foundation takes years. Here's how you can test, another test you can do, cardiac decoupling. So basically, you do a run, let's say in 90 minutes, and you see if your heart rate went, heart rate and pace. So if you see if your heart rate went up and your pace stayed the same or went down. So that's what decoupling means, basically. You want your heart rate and pace to be the same. If you're using training peaks, they have this thing called PA2HR. If you look at that, if it's less than, if it's below than 5%, you're aerobically fit for the workout. If it's above 5%, you're decoupled because you want the heart rate and the pace to be the same. The heart rate might go a bit up, but not more than 5%. And then you'll know, if you're not using training peaks, you can do it on whatever app you're using, and just look at your pace, like the image, the fourth image. You can just see like, how's your heart rate? Where is it? And that's it. That's the easiest way to find out if you what you need to work on. And this is where self-awareness and tests come in place, because once you have these tests, you'll know, okay, I need to, it was more than 5%, so I need to work on that, or it was less than 5%. It means, sorry, if you're more than 5%, it was decoupled. So it was hard to, it means it was hard to maintain the same pace with that heart rate. An analogy I like to mention is the vacuum cleaner. Imagine you have slow twitch muscles as the vacuum cleaner. So you have slow twitch muscles and fast twitch muscles. And this is another point to understand. What are you mostly dominant? Are you a fast runner or you're a slower runner, but you can go for hours? So once you know that, what kind of athlete you are, it's easier to plan around that. So for example, my strength is not speed. My strength is durability. I can go like for hours. But that comes from genetics as well. It's not all training. That comes from your training age. So for example, if you train when you're a kid, you played football, or for example, myself, when I was a teenager, I was swimming professionally, I was playing football. So that all helped me now in my training and in my running. If someone never trained when they were a kid, it's going to play a huge role. Someone that I'm coaching, for example, he's really fast. Like, he does trail runs, he does his marathon is 240 something, I don't remember, somewhere like 240, I think. He's really a fast runner. But if he does 100 miler, he's going to collapse because he doesn't have the aerobic durability, the muscular durability, and he's not training that. So really important to understand if you have more slow twitch muscles or fast twitch muscles. A small vacuum can't clean fast enough the lactate that's producing. So the mess piles up. So you're running fast, you're running out of breath, and you slow down. You feel terrible because the small vacuum cleaner can't clean up the mess that is made. The bigger, obviously, vacuum cleaner, Henry, can clean it up. So aerobic base makes it bigger. Easy long runs, back-to-back runs, don't need to do zone 3. A lot of times what runners do, they're stuck in zone 3. Zone 3 is not a productive zone to be. You need zone 3, don't get me wrong, but what happens is, the reason why it's not productive, and I call it the gray zone, is because zone 3 doesn't create enough stimulus for your body to adapt. So it's not fast enough to go into zone 4. And then it's not slow enough to build the aerobic base. So a lot of runners are in zone 3 just because it feels productive. Like, yeah, I run fast, but the body is like, yeah, well, you're not pushing. So you need to find your optimal challenge. That's why it's important to know your zones, because then you'll know, oh shit, I'm spending, I don't know, so much time in zone 3. So basically you're not really building fitness, because the body is saying, well, you're not pushing hard enough, you're not pushing enough to create stimulus to go into zone 4. And then it's not slow enough to build aerobic base. So you're just stuck. So it's always better to do zone 1, zone 2, you run slow, but then when you have hard days, you really go zone 4 and you push. That's where nuances comes, and that's where you should understand and feel how do I feel now? Like, was it too hard? Was it too easy? It's understanding RPE, rate of perceived exertion. It's like, yeah, it's how you feel. And a lot of times, men, we don't have really good intuition. Not all, but some. And what I noticed, like, everyone felt good whenever I ask, or we have on the platform, on the training software that I use, well, most of them has, like, how do you feel? And most of the times they say good. It's like, I didn't feel bad, I didn't feel, it's always good. It's like normal. It's like, no, we have to, yeah, we have to work a bit on that. Easy long runs, low intensity running makes the vacuum bigger, make the vacuum more powerful, add some intensity works. Trains the lactate shuttle proteins to move the waist faster. So you want to move the waist faster. Oh, okay. Then high intensity work. High intensity work. This is the trap. This is what I I explained. I was talking about before. High intensity work gives us fast results. You feel fitter within a couple of days. The line go up. You feel stronger. It's exciting, and you feel like, oh yeah, this is real training. But they're not structural changes. They're just, yeah, you feel fitter, but that's not durability. You peak. So what happens basically with high intensity? The line of fitness, let's say, it goes like this. You peak fast, but guess what? You plateau. You stay stuck. With durability, you peak slowly. You go slowly up. Versus, so obviously it feels better to do high intensity, but for a 100-miler, I would argue, not argue, I would just say it's better to build durability. Okay, when you're doing aerobic training, you have obviously you're building your bigger heart. You're literally growing new tissues, and it takes time. So 6 months, 12 months, years to build those engines. And when people look at pro athletes and they copy their training programs, I'm like, why? Why would you do that? These guys, they train 300 plus hours, 400. I think Kilian was training, not was, he's training around 600 hours per year. That's intense. And then people copy his training programs, like, it's like, yeah, well, you've been training 100 hours. Okay, how much intensity, how much volume you should add? You need both, but you need to choose, like I mentioned previously, in your periodization plan, what do you need? What do you want to focus on? I would say if you can do the same workout the next day and then the next day, then it's too much. It can be you're adding too much volume or you're adding too much intensity. So you have to feel like, okay, I feel I can do the same workout tomorrow. But there's a caveat. Where is your optimal challenge? So you have to find in fitness, there is adaptations happen when we push ourselves so outside the comfort zone, but not too much. So you need to find the optimal challenge. So for example, if you lift, let's say you do a deadlift, right? And you lift 100 kilos, for example, and then if you lift 120, it's going to be too hard. It's like, it's too much. That's not your optimal challenge. Your optimal challenge might be 110 kilos because it's challenging enough, but you're not out of breath and you're not like collapsing after 3 reps. So it's fine. You have to find your optimal challenge and you have to train yourself to know, okay, this is my optimal challenge, because a lot of times people overdo it. Here's an example from an athlete that I've been training 400 miles. You can see the line. So you can see, obviously, you have 3 weeks it's going up, then it goes down. 3 weeks going up. Sometimes you can see on the second block, on the deload, he had less distance, but then we increased it. So you don't follow, like I mentioned previously, you don't design a program in pen. You always design it in pencil because you need to change, because there are lifestyle things. Somebody, you might have issues at home. You might have stress at work. You might have traveling. There's so many nuances, and training should never get in front of those things, because people think that, yeah, I have stress at work, it doesn't impact my training. Of course it impacts your training. Of course it impacts, because obviously if you're not sleeping enough, if you're stressed, everything impacts. That's why when you design your own training plan, you have to focus on, okay, this is my training, but I'm going to obviously take a step back if I don't feel like it. Like now with the heat wave last week, like if it was too hot, it doesn't matter. Just don't go for a run. It doesn't matter. It's like nobody's going to cry, or your fitness score is not going to go down. It's like, oh shit, it's like if the whole world is going to collapse. Like I missed a couple of runs last week because like, you know what? I can't. It's too hot. And to the gym here doesn't have proper air condition. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't want to be in a building sweating, sweating. So, it's like understanding that things won't day-to-day work if we skip one session or two sessions. Doesn't really matter. So yeah, and then you look at his fitness. His fitness today is 37 versus a month ago, which was 27. You want a steady line versus a line like that. So we are building aerobic muscular durability for this is Dan. For Dan. So he had before he used to get tired. His heart rate went through the roof, and we did the test that I mentioned previously, and I saw he needs to work on his zone 1, not even zone 2. And then you look at the data, and the second thing you look is how do you feel. So for example, I sent him his overview on Saturday, and then he responded, I do feel that this is much easier to run 82 plus hours than before. Also, I'm not sore after long runs like in the past. So two things. It's looking at the data and looking how you feel. It's not just the data, because the data might be showing you, yeah, you're going up. But if you feel like shit, what's the point? You have to feel the improvement. Like Dan, obviously, he didn't see or maybe he saw, but maybe he saw the data, but he feels good. He feels there is improvement. That's the most important thing. So when you do a heel repeat or when you do a long run and you feel like, you know what, I'm strong. I feel stronger. That's the most important thing. Same training can have different results. So I had a Pyrenees Trail Camp last week. Some are my athletes that came from the UK, and it was the same training for all 5 days, and we all had different responses. And that's why when we follow a certain plan from the internet and it's not designed for your body, that's where injuries happen. So for example, Vera, she's coming from an injury, not now, I mean, months ago, fibula injury. Her ramp means how much fitness she gained, was 6.4. Now, time on feet, elevation, it's all the same between all of us, we were six of us. Iveta, 6.5. So 6.4, a woman in her 30s coming from an injury. And then Iveta, a woman in her 50s, doesn't have an injury. She ran a bit more. Should have had 2 more runs extra, 6.5. Now, Steve had 9.1 increase. So the same distance, the same vert, but he had the most fitness increase. That's why I don't know the other athletes that came. I don't have their data because I'm not coaching them. Here's another example. The same time on fit, the same distance, the same vert, the same location, the same weather. This is my training in the past 2 weeks. 1 week was Pyrenees Trail Camp. So obviously I designed the program for them, not for me. My fitness went up to 3.9. The week before that, I was training. Obviously, it was designed for me. It was 9.2. Because the fitness tripled within. The fitness tripled just because it was designed for me, based on my strengths, based on my weaknesses. Now there are a lot of nuances to this, but it's just a small example. I ran the exact same miles, the exact same terrain, the same vert, but yet I gained more fitness just because it was specifically designed for me. And this is my fitness in the past. I forgot. I think 6 months. No, 6 months. No, 27 weeks. It says, yeah. So you can see the fatigue that looks high. That was the race that I had, and you can see how many times I was in high risk. Basically, the form. The high risk is usually when you have races or when you have long runs. You shouldn't be there a lot, just because obviously that's where injury happens. And this is how platforms and trainings can help when you track and monitor, and you know, okay, this is where I'm right now. Right now, my fitness obviously is at the highest. It's peaking just because obviously it's race week for me. Fitness. One thing to remember: fitness and durability. Fitness will get you to the start line. Durability will get you to the finish line strong. Now, aerobic capacity is the entry price to enter a race, right? You can be fit, you can be great, but durability will decide what happens after 18 hours, 20 hours of running. It's the structure. If you think of durability is the structure that holds your whole body under fatigue when you're tired, because the first 50K, they're easy. And I say easy, obviously, because you're training for 100 miler. They have to be easy. They can't be hard, because if the first 50K are hard, well, you'll be in trouble after that. The goal is, how do you move after 10 hours of running uphill, downhill? On the arc, you'll be running in mud. So arc, for example, you'll need to work on proprioception, like how do you hold, single leg balance, closed eyes, and other strength-related exercises. Overtraining, something that happens a lot in trail running, and this is where injuries happen. And not the simple rule to not overtrain is to think where is your optimal challenge. So it's what we discussed previously. It's like, okay, this is the optimal challenge. This is how much load I can handle, and then you stop. I know someone that used to do like 100K races for training, constantly, like monthly. And I told him, like, man, you're going to get injured. Like, there's no way. No, I know what I'm doing. I know it's like, okay, cool. And now he's constantly DNFing and getting injured just because he didn't listen to his body, and he just destroyed his body, because the body keeps the score. There's actually a great book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's just, we can't just abuse our bodies, run 100 milers when we are not ready. And this is unfortunately, this is what happens. A lot of people, they sign up for ultras, 100 milers especially, and 100Ks, but their bodies are not ready. They didn't train their body because A, B, C. And a lot of times people say, I didn't have the time, I didn't have this, I didn't have that. It's like, well, if you didn't have the time, just sign up for a 50K, just sign up for a marathon. You don't need to sign up for 100 miler, because if you're in your 20s, your body will recover quickly and it will be like, yeah, okay. But 35 plus, 40 plus, well, I guess, I don't know if I think we're all 30 plus. We all know that the body is not the same, obviously. But yeah, that's why I always say it's better to focus on the foundation, mobility, the things that we discussed before, strength training, and then say, okay, can you really do 100 miler? Can you invest? You don't need a lot of time, but you need time to invest in your training. Okay, many reasons why overtraining happens. One is design flaw, especially training plans of the internet, without knowing injuries, without knowing training age. Then you have emotional stress, psychological stress, just long runs, not the right periodization. So, the increase your load by 10%. It's common in the endurance space. Yeah, you have to increase your load by 10%. Well, actually, this number is made up. If you look, there's no research that's 10%. It was someone that told it many years ago. It's like, yeah, let's do it 10% because it sounds good, sounds fun. It's like, yeah, 10%, and we all follow. Well, I don't follow, but we all have like, yeah, 10% increase. Well, actually, the right number depends on you. Some people can tolerate 10%, some people can tolerate 5%, some people can tolerate 20%. For example, Dan, that's training for MUT in South Africa. I'm not going to give him 10% increase every week. His increase is like 5%, 6%. Ken the same, he's 57, 58. He's not having 10%. Hunter, for example, he's 47. He has like 15, 20% because his engine is different. His training is different. So you have to see based on you. How do you feel? If you feel pain, let's say, tendon pain, or you had injuries in the past, you have to be really cautious and test. Being a coach in my head, it's like you're like a scientist, and as an athlete you have to become like a scientist. Like, okay, let me try this and see what works. Many times in the gym, when I was on the gym floor, I would see a certain exercise, someone doing an exercise, or a PT doing another PT doing an exercise. I'm like, let me test this, and I tested and I said, okay, let me test it on me for 8 weeks. So, okay, this is good, this works. And then it's like, okay, how can I add this into my library and make it for trail specific? How can it help my trail running? How can it help my athletes? The same with macros and calories and nutrition. Some people like Ken, he's in deficit. He has a larger deficit than Mert, for example, another athlete that I'm coaching, just because we're all different. There is a baseline, yes, but you always have to go based on your feeling as well, regardless of if a coach tells you need to do, regardless of AI or internet tells you, or an article, or Killian, or it doesn't matter if someone who is wearing is a doctor. It's like you have to really see how you feel, and then it's like, and then make a decision and say, you know what, this sounds right. Maybe you try something, and it's like, you know what, this doesn't work for me. So yeah, you don't need more hill training, you don't need more intensity, and you don't need more suffering. What you need is being intentional about your training. That's it. If you're intentional in the next 12 months or forever, but like for your next race, and think, why do I need this run? What am I trying to develop? Am I trying to work on aerobic durability, muscle durability, whatever that is? Or am I slow and I need to increase my speed, my pace? It depends. What I always say is become the durable athlete. And you become the durable athlete, there's the guide. I don't know if you guys have it. It's a RRT. I combined it with my main guide, How to Finish Your Big Ultra Strong, Not Destroyed. And there are exercises there are principles, but the principle, the idea is you become the durable athlete by focusing on mobility under load, not just stretching. Stability. So, for example, Adam will need a lot of stability for his race just because of how it is, especially if it's going to rain the week before. And in general, trail running, we all need stability because there's stones, there's wet terrain. But this is where nuances come. For example, like Adam, he's training for a race that 100%, 110% is going to be muddy. So he needs to prioritize that as number one priority, because that's how you can get injured. And then a full range of motion. So full range of motion, why do you need full range of motion? Because when you are running in a muddy terrain, for example, and if you don't have full range of motion, you're going to overcompensate, but then you're going to get injured easily. But if you have full range of motion in your ankle mobility, upper body, lower body, then you might kind of get away. I shouldn't say get away, but it's like you have full range of motion. And then durability is what holds form when you're tired, when you're running for 10, 15 hours, and you're exhausted, and your shoulders are collapsing, you're looking down. But if you build strength and you build foundation and you work every single week, nearly every single week, most of my athletes, they have a form run. The goal is just to do zone 1 running, and they have only one thing to do, just focus on the form. When we had the trail camp here in the Pyrenees, we focused on downhill running, and we recorded in slow motion. We looked at each athlete, and each of them left with feedback. And for the next 6 months, 8 months, they'll just work on that one element. One thing that I notice a lot of times, runners come and they say, I want to do A, B, C, D, and finish a race. It's too many goals, man. You have to choose one main goal and focus on that. So we have, let's say, 100 miler. Yes, one goal. But then what's the second goal that's important? Maybe it's mobility. Maybe it's body composition. I don't know. You have to decide what will help you win the race, finish strong. I'm not going to go through RRT now. I talked about it in another webinar. It's on my YouTube. You can watch it where I go in more depth. But basically, you have to. RRT is all about doing supersets, but with logic on how you can help how it will help your trail running. So you do a trap bar, for example. If you're over 40, I wouldn't suggest doing deadlifts. Trap bar is much more better. And then you superset with Bulgarian split squats, but rotational. So you work on your core rather than doing just one movement, which is bodybuilders' workouts. I think, Jeff, you work out a lot from what I saw. Bodybuilders, like the whole point of having mobility and having strength is not just lifting heavy, running long, but being able to function as a human being. Like, what's the point of lifting, I don't know, 200 kilos, but you can't wipe your ass because there's no mobility, there's no full range of motion in your shoulders. We have to think about not just running 100 miler, but how can that help in our life? It's not how many miles we run. It's not how many races we do per year. I always suggest do less races, do one race, A race, and then B races to support that A race. Just focus on one element. It's more enjoyable to enjoy trail running, enjoy the views, and not worry about cutoff times. And just I think trail running is beautiful. And yeah. Here's if you don't have the guide, you can download it. It's on my website. Screenshot it, or if you just go to my website, you'll see it. That's it. Questions? Okay. My motion is in the lotion. At least in my experience is good. Yeah. Any questions you might have? Jeff, Adam?
No
Bruno?
questions, but I appreciate I really appreciate this content, and I mean this webinar was definitely useful and gave me a lot to think about for sure. In terms of how I structure my training over the next let's see, it's June, next minus 6 months. So appreciate it.
You do strength training, or you're welcome. You do strength training, I assume.
Yeah. I did. So Tuesdays are my leg day. Ideally, I'd like to get it up to, if I can split up my leg work. I try to do it Tuesday and then Friday. But I know that the closer I do it to the weekend, the more my depends on how much I want to suffer on my long runs. So
Yeah. Well, I always say when I program RRT strength, just add, like, you have leg day, yeah, but add like rotational stuff. You have to do all full range of motion. You have to do all forgot the word. Shit. Not full range of motion. You have you do leg day one dimension, then you do like deadlifts, but you have to do like you have knee dominant, hip dominant. I forgot the word. It's crazy. But
the
anyway,
rotational split squats that you showed were PT had showed me those last year, and they are hard, but they were really, really good. And my running definitely benefited a lot from them.
yeah, there's did you download my guide, the RT guide, or the Big Ultra guide?
I definitely will after this call. So
There are exercises there in superset. So if you do leg day, I would say rather than waiting for 5-6 minutes, just do another tibialis raises, for example, injury prevention. But yeah, 1 second, I will find. Was it? You have. Yeah, movement patterns, Alex. It's like there are different movement patterns. So if you have knee dominant hip, you have knee dominant, hip dominant, vertical pull, vertical push, horizontal pull, and horizontal push, and core. So yeah. Okay, next question, Bruno. When I run long, PR fast, first thing, but let's go with my band in knees. Do you have any advice for that? Yes, IRT, strength training. If you run long, and the first thing that let's go, IT band. So basically that's mobility under load. In the RRT section, I wrote some exercises. So you don't want to do just mobility stuff, but you want to load your IT band. So IT band is not just like the pain here. You have to look at your glutes, hips. You have to strengthen the whole system. It's not just this is the pain here. So IT band or knee pain, a lot of times people think it's the knee. It's not the knee. It's weak hips, weak glutes. But like I said, there's nuances. I can't say this is it. This is 100%. No, but most of the times it's because of that. So yeah, I highly recommend exercises that will strengthen mobility under load. Strength training, download the guide, and you will see the exercises there. Linda, no questions. No, I just say thank you for the vibrancies and tips. You're very welcome, Linda. Anyone else has questions? Adam? No?
No, all
Cool.
good. Thank you very much. It's been great.
You're very welcome. So that's it. Thank you very much, guys and girls, for joining. I appreciate you. Any questions you have, you can always send me an email or on social. and I wish you all the best. I hope you finish your races strong, not destroyed. And yeah, thank you.
Alex, thank you.
Bye.